For best practice in developing KPIs, it's beginning with an understanding of your overall corporate strategy. So, what is your company trying to achieve at a high level?
Welcome to Actualizing Success. In this podcast series, our in-house advisors discuss today's finance and technology topics with an emphasis on solutions that embrace tomorrow.
Today's corporate treasury professionals have been slowly transitioning to being seen more as a strategic advisor rather than merely processing the daily cash needs. To lead this transformation, treasurers must commit to improving the operating performance of the Treasury Department. Today, we are going to talk about Treasury Key Performance Indicators, KPIs, as they relate to the corporate treasury function. Today, we will have a conversation with Craig Chapman. Craig is a senior manager at Actualize Consulting and has been focusing on delivering treasury technology solutions for over 20 years. Welcome, Craig. And I know you're excited about this new technology and use in the consulting world. So what is a Treasury KPI and what is the first step to begin tracking performance indicators?
Yeah, thanks, Kerry. So Treasury KPIs have been evolving for the last several months. They're becoming a hot topic. So today, a KPI is essentially a Treasury Key Performance Indicator, and they're metrics used to track and analyze the performance of the Treasury function. So due to the current volatile economy and the frequent market fluctuations, you should be setting the right Treasury KPIs for things like liquidity, funding, financial risk management, and KPIs that will help you monitor your corporate governance policies. So the first step to begin monitoring KPIs is to understand the overall financial goals of your corporation, and then to set objectives that Treasury can support those goals. So, for example, a goal could be for Treasury to ensure sufficient levels of liquidity. In this example, a series of KPIs would then be developed to measure that efficient levels of liquidity are consistently made available to the Treasury team as needed as they go through their daily process.
Can you explain some of the business objectives of Treasury KPIs for the various stakeholders?
Sure. It's going to mainly impact three areas. So the Treasury team, the management team, and auditors. So first, the Treasury team, KPIs will allow the team to gain a better understanding of their daily tasks and provide the ability to monitor and improve the performance of their daily Treasury operations. So just keeping them in line and ignoring those one-offs that occur occasionally where they don't have sufficient liquidity or payment processing is impacted. So it's really just to monitor their daily activity. And then for top management, the KPIs will allow management to benchmark critical Treasury metrics, track and analyze performance improvement, and really just keep everyone on task, aligning back to their goals. And then for auditors, KPIs will provide more information to allow audits to become more accurate, objective, and dependable based on that additional information that they usually do not have.
So it seems to me that KPIs will save the Treasury team, management, and auditors a lot of time.
By providing this information at a top level, it will save daily time in preparing these packages. So the monthly readouts, the weekly readouts, the quarterly readouts, all this information will now be daily available. So in the end, nobody's scrambling to provide specialty reporting, which is usually a big draw in a Treasury department to provide that reporting without the proper tools.
Exactly. Let's move on to some of the best practices for choosing the appropriate KPIs for the Treasury team.
Sure. So for best practice in developing KPIs, it's beginning with an understanding of your overall corporate strategy. So what is your company trying to achieve at a high level? And then to support that, what are the specific objectives that Treasury has set? Maybe start with KPIs focusing on providing access to capital or minimizing the overall cost of capital. Another set should measure the efficient processing of transactions. Are you making too many wires where you could possibly move that to an ACH process? So it's really just looking at your business holistically. And then additional KPIs should monitor the cost reduction efforts of the overall Treasury function. Another set of objectives to track could be focused on maintaining good controls and processes around cash management. And there is no right or wrong number of KPIs, but they should always tie back to your overall corporate strategy goals.
And that makes sense. And, you can have a ton of KPIs or just focus on the main objectives. What KPIs should Treasury teams consider measuring?
Another aspect of implementing Treasury KPIs is selecting a reasonable number of measurable events. So if you try to deliver too many, it's unlikely the results will be used effectively, and the improvement of the Treasury initiatives will lose commitment, momentum, and direction. So the ideal set of KPIs for a given Treasury function is dependent on multiple factors and should also reflect your specific needs and priorities at that time. Most indicators Treasury would track would fall under three categories. So either operational, portfolio analytics, or strategic initiatives. So let's start with the first one, operational activities. This would be KPIs centered around executing and settling financial transactions, such as Treasury payments, investments, FX, and debt settlements. KPIs could also include bank fees, forecast versus actual analysis. How's your investment performance? What's the number of bank accounts you have active and closed? Can we rationalize those? And then if we move into the second category, which is portfolio analytics, this would be KPIs centered around tracking performance of FX, investments, derivatives, commodities, and debt, and also compliance with your corporate and regulatory policies. KPIs in this category could include percentage of exposure hedged, bank bidding performance, or percentage of counterparty limits utilized. So the third category is strategic initiatives. These are items that are outside of the traditional Treasury, and these KPIs could be centered around long-term funding metrics or credit-related functions.
Yeah, I like how you bucketize those into the operational, portfolio, and strategic. That's really good tip for listeners who might want to be starting to look at their KPIs as well. So what are the benefits to realize implementing these KPIs?
So the treasurer's role has become more technical and the scope of work has been continually expanding. So the target goals for the treasurer set by the CFO are to add value to the company's financial activities. However, performance measurement in treasury management is somewhat unclear, and few companies are performing the required analysis. So the main benefits of embarking on a project would be to measure Treasury's performance utilizing KPIs, and it's going to allow you to monitor the daily tasks and measure the Treasury Department benchmarks that have been set. It'll also help Treasury managers manage critical tasks and drive continual process improvement. It provides CFOs, board of directors, and investors an accurate and reliable insight of the actual Treasury operations. It's going to help identify and adopt best practices to achieve your business objectives. And an additional benefit would be to have the required presentation materials for the weekly, monthly, or quarterly information briefings that are being held with senior management. And that goes back to the time savings. By having this in a systematic approach, you don't have to always scramble for those weekly, monthly, and quarterly briefings.
Yeah, the more organized you can get around reporting, the better for sure. Is Treasury technology required to successfully track Treasury's performance?
Yes. Technology is a key enabler in this whole process. So Treasury technology tools provide the best method for tracking and reporting on the Treasury's performance. The Treasury management system vendors are adding new functionality to track KPIs, and they often include standard metrics that can be turned on or turned off depending on your requirements. Some companies are also leveraging their own data lake and connecting a business intelligence reporting tool to develop their own dashboard style reporting. So yes, definitely Treasury technology is necessary to develop the most effective tracking and reporting on the performance of your organization based on the objectives you've defined.
Craig, I also was curious, just as we are consultants, what are you seeing in the market of some of our clients using KPIs?
What we are seeing currently with our client base is that when they have available internal IT support and an existing business intelligence reporting package, they're developing KPIs from their data lake using their existing reporting tool. The value of this approach is that it leads to a very customized reporting solution. The downside of this approach is that it usually takes longer to implement, and there are no baseline Treasury KPI examples to start from. Everything must be developed from scratch. Most clients are using the pre-packaged KPIs in the business intelligence module within their treasury management system. The value of this approach is that some TMS vendors provide pre-existing treasury KPIs, and this creates a solid starting point right out of the box. But the downside of this approach is that you will be limited to only the data that is stored within your TMS versus a data lake, which would have more data available to report on.
If I'm a listener, how can my organization get started measuring Treasury KPIs?
The following 4 steps would be a good place to start when implementing performance monitoring. First, you want to identify and acquire the correct Treasury technical platform, either a Treasury management system or an internal reporting business intelligence solution. Second, you want to understand the financial organization's overall objectives. And then third, you want to identify the activities Treasury manages that are critical to the success of those organizational goals. Finally, we want to define realistic performance expectations and parameters for each activity. So hopefully this has provided some insight into starting your own Treasury performance benchmarking program using Treasury KPIs.
Thanks, Craig. And if anybody out there has any questions, feel free to contact us. Craig is definitely well on his way to helping our clients realize better KPIs as well. So thanks, Craig. I definitely appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Actualizing Success. Make sure to visit us online at www.actualizeconsulting.com, where you can explore our service offerings. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or your preferred platform. If you've enjoyed what we talked about today, please consider leaving a review and following us on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or would like to share your opinions with us, please send us a note at podcast@actualizeconsulting.com. We look forward to hearing from you.